Let's talk about Wordle, because everybody else is. Hey everybody, this is Brant James, lead writer at HeyUSA. This is the HeyUSA podcast video version. We also have an audio version. We'll get to that in a bit. I'm joined, as usual, by Nick Garcia, the senior writer at HeyUSA. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Just been monitoring, who the Bears are going to end up going with for head coach. So I'm hoping they land one of those Buffalo Bills assistants after the complete dismantling of the Patriots. And we'll probably touch on that in a little bit. But other than that, joining the weekend and, starting the short week.
Very good. Well, if you're like me, you would have hoped to have spent every single moment of that weekend playing Wordle because it's the hottest new thing. But as you know, because you're probably addicted to it like me, you get it or you don't, and then they make you wait like 12 hours, which is absolutely maddening to either redeem yourself or, go ahead and knock out another one. But because this is a gambling podcast, I had the sort of deviant idea. What if you could gamble on Wordle? Would people do that? Of course they would. People gamble on the weather in the UK. They'll gamble on anything. There's pools about just about anything that happens in life. I think I'm kind of good at it. I've not to brag, everyone wants to hear about my Wordle game like they do my fantasy league team. But I've knocked that thing out in 2 lines. I mean, I feel like I'm okay. I like to have the chance to maybe gamblify that. Do you think folks would be into that? Would you be into that?
I mean, first, I think we should take one step back, and you need to explain for those who don't know what Wordle is exactly.
Is there really anyone like that?
One, how you came across it, and 2, what is the main objective for it?
All right. Well, Wordle is a browser-based word game. There's 6. You have to basically guess a 6-letter word. You get 5 rows of chances. You punch in your little letters. You make up your first word. I will give the world away my secret. I always do the word like straw. It's 5 letters, that is. And then you find out if the tile turns green, then you got the letter correct in the right place. If it's that mustardy yellow, then you got it, but it's in the wrong place. And if it's gray, you're a dumbass loser and you don't use that letter anymore. So you go through, and you really start to sweat by the time you get to that 6th level because you don't want to be a dummy. I don't know. I find it's very fun and it makes me feel smart, and I would like to be able to monetize that. So, with all the weirdo things, like I said, you can bet on in the world, I think folks would be into that.
You sent me a link to that last week, and I played my first Wordle. And as you said, you get 5 chances. My first chance, I was like, this is stupid. Like, this is ridiculous. Second one, I was like, oh, I got a couple letters right. Let me, that's kind of was the hook. And then the third one, I was like, all right, I really got to bang. I got to figure out what this is going to bug me all day if I don't figure this out. Yeah. I can't remember what the word was, but I did get it on try number 3. I may have to try again this week or today. It's every day, right? You get it. It's every 24 hours that it
every day. It's
right?
every like 9 to 12 hours. The number really seems to jump around. For me, I equate it to golf a little bit. I hate golf and generally hate golfers. I know it's a very skillful game.
Take.
I suck at it. I suck at it. I don't aspire to get better at it, but it's sort of like, for me, that one out of every 500 attempts to hit the ball that I hit one down the middle, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I'm on a roll now. I one time got the word solar on the 2nd row, and I'm like, wow, this is my call.
Yeah. So
this is a great game because I just did well at it.
So what we talked about, like gambling on this. What are you hearing on how that could potentially work out? Like how
I spoke to a Rick Wolf. He's a founding member of the Fantasy Sports and Gaming Association, and he's got a lot of titles. He's the senior vice president of business development and fantasy sports at Spotlight Sports Group. The business card is like a clipboard for this guy. He says yes. That this is kind of what he does. He says yes. If it's popular and it stays popular, there's probably somewhere, there's some coder right now, maybe it would be tournament play. There'd be some other way to gamblify this. I mean, for goodness sakes, Sharknado was turned into a video slot machine a few years ago. Folks see this stuff. The pop culture stuff is very big in the gambling sector. Anyone who's ever walked through a casino knows this. I mean, the game is trending every day on Twitter. Folks giving away hints, bragging about how they're doing on it. If you go to the description in this pod, I've got a link to my story on it. It's short and sweet, but I think basically what he says is, the technology is there. If this thing stays popular, then quote, we will 100% see this platform in the near future. So if you think you're as good at it as I know I am, well, then maybe this will be for you.
I don't know if I would be a gambling man on this game per se, but I could definitely, if you see some Brant James, for example, I put some money down if Brant can guess it in 3 tries or something like that. So I can kind of see the value in, much like you said, people love betting on anything. So
yeah, I think this gentleman, Mr. Wolf, suggested it'll be tournament play in the future. Sort of like maybe like an online poker. Who knows how it would develop? And it's almost sort of like responsible gambling built in if they maintain the 10 or 12 hour wait that you have to go for the next game, because my goodness, what a cooling off period before you get there. So
that's good.
We'll see. This may be yet another one of my terrible thoughts, but hey, it's a hot, terrible thought. Speaking of things people like to bet on, Super Bowl. We know that this is the biggest market of the year. We're creeping toward it. We're at the divisional round now that the NFL has purged out a lot of the pretenders.
And pretenders they were. Wow, so many blowouts this week.
Really was a lot of sketchy football. Much like I kept trying to let CJ Pierre off the hook, trying to just gently let him down, that the Arizona Cardinals were just going to lay their head in the proverbial guillotine.
There was one point during that game where I thought, how the hell did the Cardinals make it this far? Like, this is insane. They looked like 2 different teams to start the season and end the season. It was almost like the league caught up with Kyler Murray mid-season and was like, all right, we figured out how to stop you.
Yeah.
I thought DeAndre Hopkins was going to play. I didn't know if he was out for the season, but perhaps the postseason. I thought he would Derrick Henry himself and try to make a comeback. I feel like they were definitely missing some stuff on the outside. There wasn't a wide receiver open that entire game, which was weird.
No, the Cardinals, wow, man, what a great first half team they traditionally are, but they just sort of forget how to play. I think they get dinged up. I think Kyler had another injury. He is a tiny little person. This is a very large person's game. He can obviously play it when he's not dinged up. Whatever that decision was to back fling the ball into the air like he was, at his junior high school for a pick 6. That's just astounding. And he also seems a little timid trying to run anymore. I know he's had some leg issues the past couple of years, but if I'm a tiny little person running around where the great big people are, I'm going to get on the ground too. I'm going to stay back behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah,
you could definitely see that at least something was bothering him, because that guy is easily the fastest person on the field every time at any moment. He could probably outrun anybody on the field, and yet there were times where I was seeing just the middle of the field completely open, line either a nickel or the linebackers had vacated, and still he was like standing in the pocket where he could have easily ran for 10, 15 yards. So something had been bothering him. Maybe they'll come back next year, revamped, some healthy players, and make another run at the playoffs.
Yeah. The only good part about that is I had Kyler Murray under 35 rush yards on my DFS pick, and I think he had 6. So,
gotcha. The one that I picked, my big one was the Bengals money, or the point spread. Bengals -5 over the Raiders, and hit that. Yeah. It was, Joe Cool, the nickname that they give him. Regardless of what people say, I think Tennessee is going to have a field day, like trying to contain Jamar Chase and that passing attack, because those dudes, they are the underdog going in all the time. They're just, excited to be there. They got youth. They're just a bunch of dudes that are just excited to play football, and it makes them dangerous.
The Bengals are really, breaking news, fantastic team during the playoffs. But there's 2 things that they're fun to watch. Two things that make me fearful of them. And I know it's just the history of them being total trash. And I just keep waiting for them to revert. But they're a good football team. And I keep waiting for Chase to have the game on his fingertips, and he will revert to some devastating drop. And it's nonsense. I don't know why I feel this. I'm just, you wait for the storyline to resolve itself and, to recur. They're a really good team and they're fun to watch.
I mean, every great player has one moment like that where, it'd rather it come sooner than later. But yeah, I can see it. 2 seconds left. He's wide open in the end zone and ball just slips through his hand, loses focus for a second. I don't know.
And then every idiot like me goes, "Told you."
Yeah. Before we move on from that game, I always have the mindset that it's either going to be a bloodbath when you face Tennessee. They're either going to run the ball down your throat and beat you by 21, or the Bengals are going to keep it, send it into OT, beat you with some Joe Cool magic and field goal to end the game. So it's going to go either way. I'm excited to watch it either way. So I'm a Bengals fan right now.
And we assume that Derrick Henry is going to roll out of some Terminator chamber and just be peak of his powers. Derrick Henry, we have no guarantee of that.
I mean, if Cam Akers can do it, Derrick Henry can do it.
That was a pretty badass feat of healing right there.
Yeah,
his surgeon is a pretty hot commodity. Right?
Yeah,
go fix it.
Moving on to the other game, Buffalo and Kansas City. That one's. I feel like it's Buffalo's time. You lost enough Super Bowls. You built the team. This is it. It's time to go put 40 on Kansas City. Move on to the championship round.
Yeah,
against
this is
Joe
a really
Cool
interesting matchup of teams who have been flirting with letting you down. I mean, there's the body of work that's the great Mahomes, and then there's the Mahomes that whatever he was in the middle of the season, much like the Bills. I mean, they've had up moments and down moments. That's why you play all the games, I guess. But it's not a feeling of inevitability with the Bills. But yeah, you're right. It feels like the moment is opening up for them. But that's going to be a high scoring game.
Oh, that's one thing I'm excited for. I want it to be 47-47 start of the fourth quarter. Yeah. No defense at all. They just at one point the officials are like, "How about you guys just play 7-on-7?" And let's do there.
Well, with the way the officiating is trending in the NFL, let's just get down to 2 refs. I mean, whatever. Who cares? One spots it, one blows the whistle.
Exactly. That's good. NFC matchups, 49ers and Green Bay. I don't know. I feel like that's Aaron Rodgers' territory in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Them do
those. Also feel like whatever the temperature, however many 100 degrees it's going to be below in Green Bay, Garoppolo's finger, or his thumb. I mean, he looks like he's holding it together with some sort of archery thing.
He's like palm bobbing Robin Hood
device.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that little booger is gonna tighten up. I'm sure they've got all the best minds on it. Maybe they could get Cam Akers' surgeon to consult on this. But it just feels like all this nonsense, self-imposed nonsense with Aaron Rodgers. It just seems like that's a game he's not going to lose, right?
And then lastly, we got Tom Brady versus Matt Stafford down in Tampa. I feel like that's going to be a high-scoring game as well. OBJ looked like his old self, just being wide open on the field, catching everything.
More passing yards than Kyler Murray for a bit. Yeah. Not kidding. He really did.
Yeah. I think that'll be a fun game. I think, obviously Tom Brady's the team to beat, regardless of record, what they look like, who's hurt. It's Tom Brady. When he's on the field, he's the guy that you got to beat, regardless how good the other team is. Rams are good. Yeah. Cooper Kupp Arizona found a way to shut down Cooper Kupp. If Tampa Bay can do that, hopefully Cam Akers can provide a spark for them. But I still think Tom Brady takes it on against them.
Yeah, there are 2 X factors there for me. Stafford, okay, he was pretty good in the most recent playoff game. I still think he's got several really horrible mistakes in him, bred from such a long tenure with the Lions where nothing really mattered after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And if the Bucs offensive line doesn't heal up pronto, paging Cam Akers' surgeon, Tom Brady is going to be like an armadillo with a tread mark through him, because it was a bad scene on third down for him last week.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll be pretty exciting. I will be placing a couple parlays.
Sportsbook thanks you.
We'll figure that out. Before
come check out PlayUSA's odds aggregator. We'll link to that. We've got all the major sports books in there together. You can shop around and get your best deal and just stick it to them.
It's always good. Before we get to our exciting Super Bowl venue topic, you got some stuff to share for New York. What's New York sports betting looking like?
Yes, if you have any sort of breaking news sound, Nick, make that or whatever. Yeah, we just got an email from our friends at GeoComply. Not to get too nerdy with it, they're the people that make sure that you are where you're allowed to bet. They have the little tech baked into your phones, and they can tell where the bets are legal, the bets are not. Anyway, so we know that New York launched very big deal mobile last week. 1.2 million accounts are now active in New York, which is a whole bunch. 878,000 of them are unique to the state. Only 9.3% of those are also in New Jersey. So it looks like maybe New Jersey will be able to keep building middle schools, not make the toll $150 one way to Atlantic City, which in itself would be a cruel joke. Short answer to that, it seems like there's plenty of money to go around in the tri-state area.
Nice. That thing boomed real quick. It's like overnight it became one of the biggest sports betting markets. We got some promos for that as well. We'll link those in the descriptions. Take a look at those. Going to the meat of today's little discussion, you did a fun little story about venues that should host Super Bowls, but probably never will.
Right.
Tell me a little about that. What was the idea behind that?
Well, there's so much hashtag content out there, so much going on with the Super Bowl. Trying to punch through, trying to do something a little fun. There's a lot of those stories you'll find over PlayUSA. Come click on by. I think you'll enjoy it. The venues that are coming up, you've got SoFi in LA, Tampa lands a lot of Super Bowls, New Orleans, just the warm weather places, and the places with domes. That's always going to be the case. My thought was to let's take the Super Bowl someplace. This is tongue in cheek. A lot of it totally unrealistic. Most of these places don't have the suites for the Maxim party or Snoop's party or the jet, the private jet runways or the hotel rooms, or they're just stupidly cold or in the middle of nowhere. But someplace it might be fun. And my premise was the Super Bowl is basically a made-for-TV event anyway. You could hold this thing on the Bonneville Salt Flats or a soundstage. So let's just do something fun.
Well, we'll definitely link to that in the description. The first one, we won't run through them all, so you could kind of take a look. But there are a few notes that I have for that. One, Lambeau Field, your number one pick. I 1,000% agree that place should have a Super Bowl at one point. Like that, how historic that is, untouched in the winter, beautiful. Like I can see it. That would be a true test on who really earns the Super Bowl title.
Yeah. We want to see, remember that scene near the end of The Shining where Jack Nicholson is frozen? That's what the VIP suites would look like. Yeah. I want that so badly. So badly.
That was good. Ratliff Stadium was I did not expect to see that on there. Odessa, Texas.
That's my point. You might as well do a soundstage. I mean, Friday Night Lights.
Fortunate enough to have played there back in the day. I am a Midwestern kid, from Texas, West Texas. Fortunate enough to play a game there against Odessa Permian. That stadium is by far how it's described. Just a beacon in a concrete jungle in the middle of nowhere. And I think that'd be a fantastic idea. And much like you say that, at least, I mean, even if it's just a game, kind of like you said, the Field of Dreams game for Major League Baseball had their little Iowa thing. Yeah, one little football game there in the heart of West Texas. I think that'd be fantastic. That would sell out, in no time.
It would. The NFL has let every other pro top four sport. Well, the NBA really hasn't done it, but they've let most of the top four get way ahead on them. I mean, the Field of Dreams game is just spectacular.
Yeah.
The NHL, with playing on fake ponds, playing out in the cold, really cool. I mean, carve out a football field somewhere, and I know it's not realistic to Odessa's God in the middle of nowhere, but that's why they make airplanes.
Yeah. And then one thing I didn't see is Chicago's Soldier Field didn't make the list. I can see why because that is one of the ugliest looking stadiums. But being a resident of Chicago, I know how much Bears fans have wanted to host a stadium. And to be fair, it's unlike any other. It's right by the water in the heart of a city.
Yeah.
Views are good, but it could only fit 70,000 fans, I believe 75 something. It's one of the smaller stadiums in the NFL. So I don't know. Maybe if you tear down all the stuff and keep the original bones and the columns, maybe that would have been worth it. So
they could have the maximum party over at the Field Museum, like hang like lights and stuff. Was it Sue? What's the T-Rex?
Sue the T-Rex. Yeah.
See, for me, I thought about Chicago, but for me, it had too much stuff that befits a Super Bowl town. You got the hotel space, you got you got airports, you got too many convenient things. You were overqualified for this.
Give me one that did that also that you were considering that didn't make the list. What else was out there?
11, which is basically 0. I considered London, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Okay.
But I feel like eventually they're going to get one for real. I think because I've got a Stadio Azteca on there. I don't think they're going to get one. They had some real debacles with some preseason or some games when they basically claim a Shakira concert tore up their stadium and they had to bail one out of there. But I think that the NFL, I think they've announced the game in Germany now, and I think they would love to put one in Tottenham. The time zone switch would be just really crap for folks in the UK who want to go to that because they would still cater that to the US TV audience. That one, it seemed a little outlandish, but I think it's so outlandish that it's probably going to happen. That's why I suggested number 9, St. James's Park, home of Newcastle United, because that'd be like you'd get like North Sea oil derrick weather there, and you really want to see if you want to play some football in England at that point.
Yeah, we won't spoil it for the 2 college teams that made your list, but other than those 2 that you mentioned, and of course the Rose Bowl has had its fair share of Super Bowls. What would be like an odd stadium to throw out there that would host a Super Bowl?
An odd one. Well, I think one of my favorite. I picked a high school stadium, Mitchell Stadium in Bluefield, West Virginia, which in 2019 USA Today, a reader poll voted the best high school stadium in the country. Don't really know why, but sure, it was.
I don't really know why.
In seriousness, I think that the Big House would be awesome. I think that would give you the Ann Arbor is not set to host a Super Bowl kind of deluge, but it gets pretty close with Big Ten football, and you could also get that biting outdoor weather. I think that could be super fun. But number 10 is probably my favorite, and I just feel like just need everyone to come take a look at it. I don't know if I need to say it out loud.
We'll keep that there. Yeah. So there you have it. I mean, a bunch of places that should host a Super Bowl probably aren't going to host a Super Bowl, but you never know. Things change. Maybe one day NFL will get its act together and be like, you know what? The top seed gets to host the Super Bowl, whoever it is. Maybe that's a thing. Yeah.
You talk about like the stress of hosting Thanksgiving dinner. Can you imagine that when you find out, we've got the Super Bowl, do we?
Yeah. It's going to Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah. You have to book every hotel in the city that day for like 6 months out.
So on the way out of today's episode, what do we got left?
Well, we're just gearing up for February and the rest of the year. There's a lot of newsy stuff happening out there. Just a lot going on. We're going to find out maybe what's going to happen in Florida. As someone who lives here, getting deluged again with outside operator requests to sign petitions to get sports betting legal here. DraftKings is offering basically a bounty, free bet bounty. If you click a link and they send you a ballot petition and you sign it to put sports betting on the ballot, I think it's honestly too late for that, but I'd encourage all those Florida residents to get on there just in case. You never know. It's sort of like they're giving out free money, perhaps. But those are the main things that I'm watching right now. And honestly, just from the discussion today, the Super Bowl is sort of dominating all of our thought processes right now.
Yeah, it's still only January of the new year, and legislative season is going to start picking up again. So we'll have more things to talk about. Yeah. Anyhow, I believe that's a good stopping point for today's episode. We'll be back next week. Like, follow, subscribe. You guys know the drill.
Oh, and also remember, we have an audio version. If you just find us really disgusting and horrific to look at, I get it. You can find our audio podcast in all the normal places where you listen to the stuff you listen to.
Yeah, go check it out.